Are you having issues speedrunning Contra? Writing notes becoming a hassle? Does getting the double glitch seem impossible? Well, you're in luck! The Contra Discord is here to help. Learn speedrunning from other Contra runners and get tips on all the hard strats. Included in this Discord is Contra, Super Contra, Contra 3, and many more. Act Now and we'll throw in Jackal, Super Cyborg, and other Contra-like games. Even Contra Force for some reason. No more attacking mediocrity. Learn to attack aggressively. All for the limited time offer of free. Join today before the next Red Falcon attack.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
He has a chance to make up a lot of ground here.
So scary being that close.
Kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him.
Oh.
By the skin of his teeth.
Whatever they need to do to get the best run possible. If they need to mercy kill a run after that, all's fair. Whoever has the best time after 90 minutes will be the winner. And a little caveat is that if anyone does have a run in progress before the 90 minutes are up, then they can continue the run. So, it's a pretty exciting format. It definitely gives us a chance to see a lot more of what this game has to offer and see a lot of different strats. I'm really excited for what each of these players is going to bring to the table. And I think with that, we're just about ready to get started. All right, so if all the runners are ready. All right, kicking off our first run in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so Stage 1, this first part of Stage 1 is actually one of the more difficult parts of the game. It's extremely random. The spawns can be oppressive, and it's easy for the game to lag a lot. The weapon of choice here is Double Spread. It does very good damage if you're up close, and from far away it's really good at covering some of the lesser enemies. What's unique about Spread in Contra 3 is that it has autofire, and so if you get up point blank against something and you have Spread, it tends to die very fast. Most of the runners here are opting for the tank. If you time the tank right, it is roughly the same as not using the tank, but it's much, much cooler. So the weapons at the first part of Stage 1 aren't too critical. What will be critical, though, is getting Crush. This tank boss is kind of a joke. Now, coming up in this next part here, there's going to be another Crush drop, and this gets to be one of the scarier parts of the run because For this, you want to have double crush, and you're not going to get another opportunity for crush for a while. There is a small chance that it can drop in the next stage, but it's not very high. And we're coming up here on the first boss. Let's check it out on Drifter screen. Alright, so unfortunately there isn't a good way to skip the Ring of Fire. So the first boss, the bosses are kind of interesting. Some of the bosses have a lot more health, some of them have a little bit more health. It's possible to point blank the first boss and survive. It's a little tricky. It's not guaranteed on normal, but Tozzle going for it, gets it. Drifter going for it, gets it. And looks like Walt Dog got a double KO there. So, like I say, it's risky. It's not quite guaranteed as it is on the easy difficulty. And coming up on stage 2, let's check out what Tozzle has going on here. So stage 2 makes use of the mode 7, and if you have a display that's not good at handling motion, the rotation of this is pretty blurry and hard to see. So the big trick in stage 2 coming up on the boss is that by rotating 180 degrees, the boss will land right in front of you, and with 2 crushes you can destroy it basically instantly, which is super nice. Now, if you don't have the right weapons for this, though, you'll have to do a little bit of a tango. So if we check out Walt Dog really fast here. So he is going to try to kind of dance with the boss. And it's kind of devious. I guess the developers probably knew that people would try something like this. So if you get too close to the boss on one side, it will rotate the other way. So if it's spinning counterclockwise, it'll spin clockwise and vice versa, so it tries to kill you. The segments of the boss can randomly drop an item, and so what was really good for Walt Dog is that he dropped a crush, which was exactly what he wanted. Alright, and getting pretty close here. Let's check out Drifter. So, the mid-boss with the spinning pole is interesting. So the only part of him that takes damage is the tiny red core that's down below. What's really good about the crush gun is that the explosions kind of bleed through things. So the explosion from a crush can like damage things where normal bullets would get stopped by the armor plating of a boss. So you can get a pretty quick kill if you have double crush. If you don't, it gets a little trickier. Let's see, Hemzar's coming up on the stage 2 boss. Let's check that out. Another quick kill. Nice. Alright, let's shift it back over to Walt Dog. So this climbing section here is really slow. There isn't really a way to speed it up, so you just have to take it. The boss here is going to pull each of the sections out, and he's got some different patterns that he can do. So some of the patterns he just kind of retreats and you can't do very much damage. What you really want him to do is you want him to lunge at you. The game is kind of programmed where he tries to follow your movements. So it can kind of get in your head, so you gotta kind of wait for him to commit and then just drop down at the last second. Alright, so looks like Hemzar did a reset, so he's in stage 3, but he's doing alright. And we're coming up on this UFO, one of the more boring bosses, I would say. So you just shoot the core and he's basically done. But get into a more interesting part of the stage. So there's a barrier here. It's possible to do this section without picking up the barrier, but it's risky. This is the last crush drop of stage 3, so if anyone is down a crush, they can pick it back up here. And speaking of really simple bosses, so if we check out Drifter screen here, if you have Double Crush, this boss dies before he really gets to do much of anything, so it's pretty much free, as long as you have the right weapons. If you don't, it gets a little more interesting. So Drifter and Tozzler are coming up on stage 4. So stage 4, there's not... The first part of the stage, this tunnel section, there isn't a ton going on. So we check out Tozzle's screen here. One of the cool things about these little biker guys is that they give you a ton of lives. So it's a good place to farm lives. I don't think any of our racers are going to need it, but it's a fun little gimmick. And then the next thing that's going to come up is this tank here. The jetpack enemies are going to keep flying up, and the pattern is a little erratic. You'll do the most damage with this game if you get really up close to things, and sometimes the jetpack guys can give you a bad bullet, and that can be really bad. So this stage has 2 possible crush drops, but they're random, so if you lose your crush, you might not get it back. Let's check out Hamzar here. One thing I missed commentating on stage 3 is these are the skeletons. They're the first phase is pretty straightforward, but the second phase, the torso ironically moves probably faster than any other enemy in the game, and the way that they move, I still don't understand, despite all of my time debugging. They can be a little bit dangerous, so it's a little brave to stay on the bottom to face them. Shift back over to Tozzle. So this boss over here is kind of a non-event. As long as you have Double Crush, you can take that boss out without too much trouble. The stage 4 boss, though, is where it gets really interesting. The missiles move at different speeds at each difficulty. So because of the way that missiles move, like on normal, you can be a lot more aggressive than you could on hard. And the other thing is it's actually okay time-wise to die on this boss fight on normal. You would not do this on hard mode if you can avoid it. But actually, Tozzle got a good kill. There's plenty of opportunities to pick up better weapons in the next stage. So you'll see a level of aggression in normal that you don't normally get to see on the hard mode run, so it's kind of cool. And with that, we are coming up on stage 5. So it looks like Drifter is starting out. Let's take a look at his screen really fast. So the best place to start in stage 5, there's 2 places you can kind of start, either the top left. Stage 5 is interesting, so the way the game works is each starting point, I guess, is like a quadrant with coordinates. If when you die, you cross over into the next quadrant, the game will put you back on the center starting point for that quadrant. So a fun little thing you can do to abuse that is that when you walk into a pit, you actually keep your momentum as you go through a long falling animation. And so by dying, if you run fast enough and hit the right angle, you will fall over into the next quadrant, and then when you respawn, you'll be at a place that's further ahead. So it's kind of nice. The boss doesn't have too much health on normal, so that means that you can be, once again, like super aggressive and take a death. And you can also do the explosion for good measure. Alright, so with that, looks like... Let's take a look at the Jonkio's screen. He just finished stage 4. See which starting point he picks. Another starting point you can pick is the right side, so that's the route that Jonkio took. So here you can actually kind of sneak through that corner. It's pretty tight, but it's nice. You can do the death abuse skip in either direction, or looks like Jacchio is opting to avoid it just for safety, so we'll have better weapons for the boss fight. And yeah, with Double Crush, this boss fight is very fast. Alright, so looks like Tozzle is already at the Alien Queen fight. I just blinked in and we missed stage 6, sorry about that. We'll get a few more chances to cover it though. So this is the final boss for the normal difficulty section. So this brain has a couple different patterns, and the pattern you get is based on which orb that you hit. On the normal difficulty speedrun, the ideal is to do this in 3 cycles. The act of the brain teleporting away and making the orbs appear and starting a cycle takes a long time, so you really want to get 3 cycles. You'll lose a lot of time if you can't get it fast enough. And what's interesting here is hitboxes are fun in this game. So the orb hitbox, the part that actually hurts you, is like a tiny, if you can imagine a tiny square in the middle. That's the only part of it that damages you, and then when you're ducking, the only part of you that takes damage is basically your elbows. So the tiny square of your duck and the tiny square of the orb never align, and it looks like Tozzle is going to get the 3 cycle. And that is a pretty good run. Let's see what the time is. Time is when the character jumps to the helicopter automatically. Wow. So Drifter and Tozzle finished within 2 seconds of each other. Both fantastic runs. The time for Contra 3, it starts when you get control of the character, and when you lose control of the character, ends when you lose control of the character. It's sometimes called SDA timing. And that wraps up, so let's cut back over to Jacchio. There's a couple different patterns that are ideal, so the red one also works. I could talk a little bit more about the health mechanic of the brain fight in a next run, but essentially the red and the gray orbs are the ones that you want to get. The other ones are decent, but it's harder to do as much damage. Jacchio looks like he's feeling a little bit behind, so he just does a bomb to get some extra damage to make sure he hits the cycle. Oh, Hemzar has blue orbs. Let's check that out real quick. So the worst possible thing that can happen is the blue orbs. The orbs, if you get that pattern, the boss basically spawns a bunch of invincible orbs, and dodging them, it gets a little insane. Another pattern that you can encounter is the spikes, and the boss will drop spikes, but also weapons. So Hemzar was using that to try to get some of his crush back, but it looks like he's probably just going to finish out with what he has. And with that, everyone has completed a run. Drifter and Tozzle have had fantastic times. I know Hemzar and Jacchio are probably going to want to switch that up a little bit, but stellar performances all around. Jacchio also had a fantastic run. Plenty of other opportunities, though, for Waltdog and Hemzar to catch up. Still have a lot of time left. Hour and change. So, let's take a look at what we got going here. So, check out Walt Dog's screen. So the section that Walt Dog is going through is the volcano. And what you'll see is Walt Dog used one of his bombs there. The volcano section, a lot of random fireballs can come up, and if you're not lucky, they can easily get you. And a death here is really bad because you won't be able to get crushed for a while, and that means no point blank on the boss. That means the stage 2 boss is going to be a lot messier. So you can use a bomb to take care of that, but every time you use a bomb in this game, it lags the game by at least a second, if not more. So that part gets rough. Let's check out Jacchio. Going through the same section here. Let's see if he uses a bomb. No. He does not. So Jacchio has spread. Spread is actually okay damage-wise for this, as long as you're point blank, which you get to be for the boss, but he ended up using it to get through that fireball section, so it's pretty cool. Alright, so let's cut over to Walt Dog. Walt Dog's going through the boss section. Awesome. Yep. Double crush there is fantastic. Let's check out Drifter. Drifter is coming up on the wall mini boss. So this boss can delay as much as he wants. It's totally random what pattern he does. The ideal is to get him to lunge at you, but you really have no control over it. You just have to sit and kind of wait. Yep, there's the fake. You want as few fakes as possible, but that boss really does what it wants. Alright, looks like Tazel opted to reset. Jacchio is still going with spread. Let's take a look at Jacchio's screen really fast here. So Jacchio has Crush Spread. He's not going to be able to get Crush until the next mini-boss section here. Now what's interesting though is that Spread does really good if you are point blank. So if he does this right, this kill should be pretty much equal to Double Crush. Let's see. Yep. Spread is actually really good for that fight, and he'll be able to get his second Crush back. I guess while we're waiting through some of the idle parts in Stage 3, I can talk about the weapons a little bit more. Most of the weapons in Contra 3 do either 1 to 2 damage. Crush does 4 damage, so the initial shot hits for 4, and then it explodes, and that can hit sometimes 5 or 6 times. And you get to fire 3 crush shots per crush weapon that you have. Contra 3 has like no delay when you switch weapons. So if you have crush on each weapon slot, you can fire 6, and that does a ton of damage. It's basically the weapon combination that you want for any situation, really. The downside, though, is that Crush has a short range and can lag the game in some situations. The other weapons are okay. Spread does 2 per shot. It shoots very fast if you're point blank, but a lot of the fights you're not. Laser does 3, and then each segment does 2, so it's good for far away, but not quite as damaging as Crush. I wish fire was better. So, what's interesting from a racing perspective is that kind of like Spread and the original Contra, where like you always want to have it, that's kind of how it is with Crush. Since you've got 2 weapon slots, you can kind of adjust and improvise, but always as you like go through a run, you're always like, okay, if I lose Crush here, when can I get it back? And there's some sections where it's not available or available kind of randomly for different times. Drifter is coming over here on a section we call the Skater. So let's go over to him really fast. So this fight is pretty much scripted, but because of the way that this boss moves, doing it optimally is very tricky. So Crush does its damage over like the course of its explosion. So to do the best damage with it, you kind of have to anticipate how your enemy is going to move and fire the shots with it. And if you do it right, you can do a ton of damage, but it does require a certain amount of finesse and prediction. So this also comes into play in this boss fight here. So actually, if we go back to Drifter, you can kind of see like Drifter is shooting the Crush so that the boss is going to be moving into it and never away from it. And when he does that, you get way more damage. If you fire Crush and it explodes and the enemy moves away, you do way less damage. So there's it's a lot more finesse in Contra 3. It's not about like mashing and shooting really fast. Alright, so let's check out. Let's switch over to. Let's see, Jockio. What's Jockio got going? So Jockio's coming up on a section we affectionately call the Acrobat. And this is a stupidly random fight. So essentially this, we call him the Acrobat, is one. It's almost like a tightrope almost that he's like jumping around, and he moves completely randomly. So if you check out Hemzar's screen, actually you'll see the fight a little bit more in action. So you see these guys kind of drop down. Only the darker shade one takes damage, and you've got to take that one out. But meanwhile, other ones will try to fall on you. Because of how fast that guy moves, he can move. He moves way faster than the Crush shots can explode. So he can make the fight either very slow or very long, or it can be really fast if he cooperates. Now this is a little interesting, so let's see here. In that drop there that Hemzar just got, it's 50-50 if it's Crush or Spread. Hemzar lucked out and he got Crush. Spread is extremely bad for this next fight because you're not going to be able to really get too close to the boss core. Alright, so let's cut over to Tousle really quick here. One thing I didn't mention is the way that this little, I guess, exploit works is in Contra 3, the camera only moves as fast as you scroll, or the camera can't move faster than you can move. And so when the section starts, if you are to the far right edge of the screen, you can stay on the far right edge of the screen as long as you're moving forward, so you can skip a lot of the cycles with fireballs and other little obstacles that you'd ordinarily have to wait for. Tousle reset there because she got a really unfortunate fireball, and one of the reasons why she did that is because there's not really a good weapon pickup for Crush after that point, and because she's got such a good time on the board, she does not want to lose out on that time, so it probably made more sense to just go ahead and reset. Alright, so let's cut back over to Walt Dog here. So this section here, the heart doesn't have too terribly much health, but it gets a little tricky if you don't have double crush. Some of the bosses in this game look pretty easy if you have the right weapons. If you don't, the fights definitely get a lot trickier. So, that boss, the little droplets that he throws are entirely random, and like some of the patterns that you get are extremely hard to dodge. So Walt Dog got like a really, really bad layout. I think there was basically just like one tiny sliver that he could have stood, but doing it on the fly is insane. Jockey's in the same part. Let's take a look. Yeah, so you see Jockey got like a really nice cooperative pattern. Dealing with some of the randomness is a big part of the game. Let's see, Drifter is just finishing up a run. Looks like he got a 13:26, so within seconds of his best, but not quite able to lower the time there. Now that these players have a run on the board, they're going to start to go for a little bit more aggressive strategies, and they're going to be resetting a little bit more. Alright, looks like Hamzar is doing the... Let's get over to Hamzar really quick. So it is possible to just shoot up and take out that boss, but in a race situation like this, it's usually better to take out the arms that reach out. I'll talk a little bit more about the brain fight. So the brain has 16,000 health, and then each time it does one of its attack cycles where you pick an orb, at the end of the cycle, the health gets cut in half. And if you have double crush, you can do in the neighborhood of 2,000 per cycle. If you combine that, having it multiple times, you can basically take it out in 3 if you've got the right weapons. That's assuming you have double crush, you get the right pattern, and you do the maximum damage. But if anything goes wrong, you get extra cycles and you'll be bleeding time. And I said the worst one is the blue orb, but that's actually not true. The snake orb that Hamzar got is actually the worst. It takes the longest time, and you probably have the least opportunity to do damage. So, tough break there. Alright, so let's cut over to... Drifter's gonna do the section here. Alright, yeah, so you'll see the Drifter's on the far right edge of the screen, and then once the screen starts scrolling, he's going to start scrolling immediately. And then as he's on the far right edge, you'll notice that he can just kind of jump over these fireballs, the column of flames. If he was a little bit to the left, he wouldn't be able to do that. Now, what's a little tricky about this is if you are holding right when the camera unlocks and the screen starts scrolling, you will lock it up. So, like, you have to react to the screen being unlocked and the scroll starting. I wish it were easier, but that's how it is. Drifter coming up on the boss. So, the boss has a counter, and after a certain number of time, he will fire a shot at you. The shot comes from the brain part down below, so like you're literally standing down the barrel of a gun when you go for a point-blank strategy on that boss. The Stage 2 section here, so you've got to essentially destroy all of these little bunker targets, and then once you do, the boss fight starts. The best place to do this is the top left. You can take out the first one as you walk away and just quickly go through the next ones. Sometimes the way that the enemies spawn is It's a little hard to describe, but essentially, like, sometimes enemies can spawn on top of the core, the target that you're trying to take out, and that can cost time, which is unfortunate. And so Drifter is moving on to stage 3. Let's check out Tozzle. Yeah, so this gets tricky. So you can see some of the different patterns that the bosses can do, and you'll see the randomness of these bosses really bites. So you can safely take out those bosses from if you're hanging from the ceiling, but if you're hanging from the ceiling, then you don't have like a very good angle to hit the boss, and sometimes they can kind of move and get away really easily. So there's like a little trade-off of like, do I play it safe or do I stay down below? And so Tozzle unfortunately got a really, really wild movement pattern. And so because she'd lost Crush there, that meant that she wouldn't have double Crush for the boss fight. And so she would have to, that fight would take a lot longer. And so you can see like once something kind of goes off the rails weapon-wise, like it kind of cascades. And so that was probably a smart call. And like I said, as these racers get better times, they start to have to be a little bit more aggressive. There are certain things that they could tolerate when they were trying to put a time on the board that they don't want to tolerate anymore. So it's a little tricky to decide what you're going to take and what you won't. Alright, so Walt Dog is coming up on, let's check out his screen here. He's coming up on this section here. So again, like, Spread Crush is a pretty good combination for this part of the stage. Good for taking out these mosquitoes, I call them. Yep, good kill. And then he's going to pick up Crush, and he's going to be on his merry way. Meanwhile, Chokyo is going to fight the boss here. Check out his screen. Alright, so stage 2. He has Crush Spread. One of the interesting things about these top view stages is that in normal gameplay, like in the side-scrolling stages, it doesn't really matter which gun, if slot 1 or slot 2 doesn't really matter. But in the top view stages, it does. So gun 1 fires from your left hand, gun 2 fires from your right. And so you actually want to have Crush on your right hand. And if it's not, you kind of have to make some adjustments. So that gets to be a little tricky. You can see both Drifter and Tozzle are resetting a lot more aggressively because of the PB that they've got. And meanwhile, let's cut back over to Walt Dog. So Walt Dog's got full weapons. This climb here is tricky. So what Walt Dog did there is actually really cool. So if you are at the there's like 3 pixels on the spinning platform you can be on. If you're like at the very end of those last 3 pixels of that spinning pole, you can actually skip a jump. We call it platform skip. It's really cool when you get it, and if you miss it, you look like a fool. and it's easy to get shot by the turret that's there. So yeah, so Walt Dog has Double Crush here, and only if you have Double Crush can you basically take care of this. If you don't, you won't be doing as much damage, so you'll have to deal with the lasers chasing you. And because of the way that the lasers chase you, you can't really do as much damage to the boss as you're fleeing away, so you definitely lose a fair bit of time there. And let's see. As long as you have Double Crush, it's really easy to do that particular boss fight. Let's check out Talzel here, is going through stage 2. So you can see with Double Crush, you can fire from the left hand, fire from the right hand at the beginning, and then you notice firing from the left hand for certain spots, so paying attention to which hand you have selected can kind of make the difference. So she pays attention to which hand she has out to fire the shot, so that makes, you can see like she got some very precise angles that you couldn't get if you weren't like paying close attention to which arm you had selected. So, yeah, Jonkyo currently has the lead with a 13-19. The times are very close. Yeah, I'm kind of amazed that the first run went so well for so many of these racers. We've got everyone within basically 5 seconds of the top 3 are within 5 seconds of each other. Walt Dog and Hemzar are catching up. There is still plenty of time to pull it out. Several resets. And you'll start to see each of these players get more and more aggressive as we go through here. So as we kind of go through this, starting to think about like where can these racers save more and more time. So if you check out Walt Dog really fast here, you can see Walt Dog wants to get way more aggressive, and it has its consequences. So those little chaff balls that the boss drops are random, and the position is random, and they can totally get in your way. For this second phase of the fight here, the boss is shooting these fireballs, and the fireballs, for some weird reason, have collision. They have 16 health, and that's unfortunate because they can block crush shots. So it's really easy for you to lose time in this boss fight, but if you want like a really good boss fight, though, can save you a considerable amount of time, so like it's kind of give and take. And Walt Dog is down a crush here, but it looks like he is just going to go and run for it. One thing I wanted to call out, let's see if Walt Dog picks it up, is the laser weapon behaves differently in the top view stages than it does in the side-scrolling stages, so it's actually really good in these stages. He got double crush. The laser actually fires like a constant beam in the top view stages, so it actually does pretty good damage. And it's a 50-50 to get a laser drop or a fire drop from that section there, the last target in stage 5. Let's cut over to Jonkyo, who is doing the stage 4 boss fight again. Jonkyo is looking to tighten his lead, and to do that, again, he's going to have to play really aggressive on this boss fight. There you can kind of see the movement. That was a really good boss fight. One of the interesting things that you'll notice there is when Jonkyo was jumping to get to the next missile, he changed directions and shot diagonally down and to the right. And that movement very slightly lines up the boss better. It's like Jonkyo was in such a hurry to select the next target that he had a little miss up there, so that actually is going to cost him a few seconds. One of the interesting things about stages 2 and 5 is, so you don't really see it for very long, but at the beginning of those stages, it asks you to pick a target starting location. And the location that you pick from is random. I don't know why they don't just always put the cursor in like the top left, but it's completely random, so you gotta like figure out, okay, where am I and how do I select the spot I want as quickly as possible. So it's just another weird thing that you have to react to. And it looks like Jonkyo, because he got that bad starting spot and then some things went south, looks like he ended up going for the reset there, which is understandable. Let's check out Walt Dog here. So this is what I call the dreaded snake pattern. There's it's rough, man. It's really hard to dodge. You have to like move and then get to the next spot at a really specific point in time. This is the orbiting, I call it the wide orb pattern. Those orbs kind of orbit you, and after a certain amount of time they close in. Walt Duck had a bomb, so he was able to destroy them instantly, but they can certainly be problematic. So this is going to be tricky. So because Walt Dog doesn't have double crush, this means that he won't be able to beat the boss in 3 cycles, and so being down that is going to cost a considerable amount of time. Let's cut back over to Hemzar really fast here, who is just finishing a run. Alright, Hemzar getting a 1328. It's definitely going to have to go faster than that, but that is still a much better time than his previous one, so it's getting a lot closer here. Yeah, so I should mention the section before, in stage 6, the section before you fight the gargoyle, there's a crush drop, and that is the last guaranteed crush drop of the game. And so from that point on in the run, you really, really, really do not want to die, because you need as much firepower as you can possibly get for the last boss. If you're missing a weapon, like, you're not going to get that time back. So, definitely a big improvement, though, from Hemzar, and that puts 4 racers within 10 seconds of each other, which is pretty good for this format. So we are coming up on halfway through the race. So Jonkyo in the lead with a 1319, Taza with a 1322, Drifter next with a 1324, Hemzar with a 1328, and Waldog with a 1358. Everyone now is sub 14, which is still pretty good. That's pretty solid. And let's see, I think Waldog is definitely going to put down a better time in the next few. Let's see if he can hold us out here. Now, you might be wondering kind of what happened there. So, I mentioned earlier that like the fastest way to do good damage in this game is to get really up close to things. So like spread. The spread gun will fire again once all of its shots have either disappeared or hit something. And so to do maximum damage with spread, you want to get like as close as possible. and then the crush gun, you want all of the little explosions to do the full damage. So the best way to do that is to like get right up in something's face and then explode it literally like on top of them. So you're trying to get like as close as you can to things to do the most damage, but like not too close. So like there's this kind of give and take. And if you cut the corner a little too sharp, you die. It's tricky for sure. Alright, let's get back over to Drifter, who's going through stage 5. Drifter had a very good stage 5 in his best time so far, looking really clean. Let's see if he can pull this out again. Drifter still electing to do the top left. Yep, it may not look like much, but like that death there skips like a really narrow section, which one of the challenges is that anything can spawn in that section. So normally you want to like run through the section, these sections like as fast as possible, but it's entirely possible that like some enemy could spawn that like you literally can't run past. So that is the tricky part. Drifter was hoping for a laser drop from that last pod in stage 5, but he got fire instead, which was a little unfortunate, so he's going to lose some time there. But he'll definitely have a chance to make up some time in stage 6. Meanwhile, let's check back in on Jacchio. So Jacchio is doing... I mentioned earlier that you'll start to do things to extend your lead, so Jacchio's going to have to play like a little bit riskier. So Jacchio stood to the right of those skeletons, so that basically let him do way more damage, but it was way riskier because each of them can, you know, jump at him, shoot at him, and he'd be dead, but he bet it all and he got away with it. So pretty fun. Alright, Drifter is coming up on another section of stage 6. They haven't commentated too much, so let's cut over to him really fast here. So this is, we call it the Gargoyle. He has just a tiny little part that takes damage, and then when half his health is gone, he'll start to retreat and teleport. It's actually possible to take him out in one cycle. We call it the 0 cycle. It's really hard to do, and you want to take him out in as few cycles as possible. Sometimes runners will use one of the bombs, even though it does lag, because it gives them that extra damage that you need to avoid the boss kind of teleporting away and teleporting back. And this is the brain fight again, and like I said, this is a very critical section because you need to do as much damage as you can to be able to get the 3 cycles. If you don't have double crush and you get the wrong ore pattern, you're not going to be able to do it in 3 cycles. Even if you have double crush for the brain fight, you might not be do enough damage to get the 3 cycle. So it's a very tense part of the run, and missing a brain cycle is actually one of the most costly mistakes that you can make in the run. Mistakes or bad luck or what have you. The collision for these orbs is really janky, and the boss can the way that the orbs rotate can change basically every second, and sometimes it can move counterclockwise and it moves it very, very fast. So being able to kind of shoot the right one and react is definitely a tricky part of the run. Drifter getting, let's see, 1320. Oh my goodness. Oh man. It's getting pretty competitive here. Just a second off, a little second and change off of best time here, so this is getting super, super competitive. Let's check back in with Tozzle. Here's a section I haven't talked about too much. So again, I mentioned being to the far right side of the screen. So you can pick up the barrier here, and that's what allows you to skip these little fire pillars. Otherwise, you'd have to wait a considerable amount of time. You can see she's standing like really, really, really close to the tank there. And then the tempting thing about this section here is that you can gain a second of time if you are brave enough to walk past the volcano section here without using a bomb. Now, 1 second might not seem like a lot of time, but it's basically 1 second currently separating Drifter and Jockio. So, yeah, you be the judge. As the times get lower, the strats get riskier. So, that was a good boss kill. If we check out Hemzar's screen really fast here. Yeah, so even though Hemzar had crushed Spread, because Spread is so good close up, he was able to still get the boss fight down in time. Jockio, I missed it. Got an unfortunate death from the mutant crawler guy, but he was able to get his crush back. And let's cut back over to him really fast as he's closing out another run. Let's see if he's going aggressive here. Yep, he was. So Jockio kind of showcasing that you can just shoot up and pray. It's random what so we call it the queen fight. Those two heads on the left and the right side can either like reach straight after you, they can like reach and go away, or they can do lots of different things. Jockio, you'll see that he waited a long time before selecting an orb. You might wonder like why he waited so long. I mentioned like it's really, really critical to get a 3 cycle, so it does not make sense for him to just pick one at random and hope for the best, because if he gets the wrong one, he can lose 10-15 seconds. When the boss is rotating counterclockwise, it happens so fast that it's almost impossible to hit. I would say frame perfect, but frame perfect is a weird thing to say. Contra 3 is interesting in the way that it calculates damage. So to kind of compensate for some slowdown, I'll pause for a second and see what the time is here. 13:16. Oh man. Cranking up the pressure. Cranking up the pressure. Yeah, that is a fantastic time. So yeah, in case you were wondering like why he waited so long, he really, really wanted to get that 3 cycle, and had he not done that, he would not have gotten the 13-16, so it's an excellent time. But it puts the rest of our racers in a bit of a tight spot. Yeah, so Contra 3 has, as you've seen, like kind of some issues with slowdown. So one of the optimizations that the game does is that it only checks for your bullet collision every other frame. So it's possible that you might have shot something at the right time, but the game might not have been checking at the right frame. And when the orbs are moving counterclockwise at full speed, it's possible for shots that are placed correctly to miss. And yeah, I think it's worth taking a second. Let's take a look at the standings here. Sorry, I get so excited with stuff that's happening in Contra 3 that I get distracted. So Jaccio is extending his lead to a 13-16. Tozzle is not too far behind with a 13-22. Actually, no, Drifter has pulled ahead with the 13-20, Tozzle a 13-22. Hemsar still rocking a 13-28, and Walt Dog is going to be trying to make up some time with the 13-58, but it's still anyone's race. There's still half an hour, so there's effectively like 2 full runs that they can do, and really 3 if they start their run before the timer runs out. So they've each got 3 full runs to play with, and they can do some more and more aggressive things here. 13-16 is a very good time, though, I will tell you. So the other racers definitely have their work cut out for them. Speaking of other racers, let's go back over to Tozzle. So Tozzle is coming up again on the Acrobat section. And this is this kind of showcases some of the things that some of the different bosses can do that make life very difficult. So watch how it moves. Yep. So if it's cooperative, it will stay on the left side. If it's not, it'll move to the right. One of the interesting little techniques that Tozzle did there is she, at the beginning of the fight, jumped, and at the height of her jump, fired left, as opposed to, say, being underneath it and shooting up, or like being below and to the right and going diagonal. And the reason she did that is because if the boss moves to the right, it'll get hit by the shots. If it moves left, it'll get hit by the shots. You get like the maximum coverage for the different things that it can do. If you take out the boss quickly, it won't be able to move as much, and when it starts moving rapidly, that's when you start to bleed time. Hemsar, let's cut over to Hemsar really quick, who is back on the stage 4 boss fight. So again, this is a section where you want to be as aggressive as possible. It's a good place to gain time. It's really easy to lose time on this boss fight. That diagonal shot. Yep. That was really good. Hemsar was able to do like the last little bit of damage to get the kill. If Hemsar didn't get off those last few shots, Hemsar would have had to go through the delay of respawning to be able to finish off the boss. You're probably wondering, do the missiles actually damage the boss? And the answer is yes, they do. It does 2 damage each. So, not the most effective missiles, but hey, it's something. Alright, so I mentioned there's the skip there, so Drifter did the skip from the top left. You can do it the other way also. So you can start on the right and do the skip to get to the top left. Regardless of which way you do it, it's safe to say that that section sucks. And one of the strategies you can do on this boss is that you can just point blank him. You are going to take a death most of the time, but Hamzar switched to his other weapon slot, and so that meant he kept Crush. So that means he's going to have be able to pick up Spread and then Crush really quickly in Stage 6. Speaking of Stage 6, let's see what Tazzle is up to here. This section is interesting. So, by being further to the right edge of the screen, you can avoid some stuff, but it gives you less of a time to react to some of the things that are happening, so it's kind of a risky situation to be in. Tazzle elected to wait to pick up Crush, which is probably a smart move because you really, really want Crush for these next few bosses. If you have point blank, then boss dies quickly. So the death there is unfortunate, but there's another Crush here, so really minimal time loss. Let's see if she does the bomb strat on the gargoyle. Okay, no. So, Tazzle only has one bomb in reserve, so it can be handy for the boss fight. Sometimes they're in a similar spot. So there you can see the reaching head gave Tazzle some really bad luck. She did a really good dodge. The timing to dodge when the head reaches all the way over to the side is pretty tight. So that was really good because had she not done that, she would have lost the Crush and lost the 3 cycle, and that would have cost a ton of time. And so there, it was tempting to use the bomb on the gargoyle, but she elected to do it here. So this will increase the likelihood of her being able to get the 3 cycle on the brain fight. So it was really smart. And if you're wondering, because of the health halving mechanic of this boss, like the boss starts with like a crap ton of health, it's a little faster for the first cycle for the brain to each of the cycles is a different length. So red is one of the is tied for the shortest, and so even though you can do more damage with the gray one, because the pattern is longer, it's faster to get a short pattern at the earlier part of the fight. The snake and the blue patterns are extremely long. Tazzle electing to just immediately reset because it wasn't the time that she was looking for. And time is definitely precious here. Alright, so let's take a quick recap of where we're at. Jockey with a 13-16 that is looking really tough to challenge. Not insurmountable, though. But these other racers definitely have their work cut out for them. All right, let's check back in with our man Walt Dog. Coming up on this exciting scroller. Now, one of the annoying things about this auto-scroller is actually the game is lagging a significant amount of time. It's got 2 missiles on the screen, and then each of the segments of the legs are animated, and the background is animated, so the game is slowing down. So if you try to fire a crush shot to destroy the missiles, it does lag the game a fair bit. So if you miss, you're going to lose even more time. It's just bad. Lag management is a very real part of the run and something you need to think about. So yes, shooting a lot of crush missiles is good most of the time, but if you can avoid lagging, you generally kind of want to. The bomb generates a certain amount of lag, that extra little bit of damage can help you in some situations, but like you'll lose a second if you do it. So it's a trade-off. Funnily enough, sometimes using the bomb actually, like, you can use the lag to kind of increase your reaction window to certain situations. Some people do that with the acrobat. It's kind of fun, but just another thing to keep in mind. Waldo, let's see if he goes for the platform skip. Ah, okay. Didn't get it. Yeah, it's you have to be on the last 3 pixels of the spinning pole to get that little platform skip. It saves a jump, which is roughly 40 frames, but it makes you feel good. And if you feel like you're playing well, momentum is definitely a thing with this game. Okay, yeah, so Walt Dog lost the crush there, and so, like I said, that's a really costly place to lose crush. This is definitely one of the more punishing speed games to pick up. A lot of speed games that you'll pick up, if you make a mistake, like you'll lose a few seconds, but like the run is still going. But in Contra 3, making a mistake often, not always, but often means you're dead. And so it's hard to recover from that because you lose a weapon and you lose a chance to pick it up. And some of the mistakes can kind of like cause cascades and snowballs. Right. Hems are right under my nose. I'm so bad at commentating 5 races at the same time, but snuck it out with a 13-13. Oh. It's a fire time. That is a fire time. I said the other racers were going to have a hard time beating a 13-16, but a 13-13 is an even harder time to beat. So one of the interesting things about a 13-13 is that pretty much means if you want to beat that time, you almost have to get a perfect brain fight. So a mistake, if you don't get 3 cycles on the brain fight, like, you now can no longer beat the 13-13. That's just how it is. So that means that these runners are going to have to reset for a lot less. And it gets really tricky because time is running out. Jacchio. Okay, yeah. So Jacchio is starting to play more aggressively, using a bomb to take out the gargoyle. Able to do that in effectively 1 cycle. Alright, so he risked it all for that section there. So there's some different, like I mentioned, different patterns. He chose to duck and stay in the center. If either of those reaching heads could have gone all the way and killed him and just killed the run instantly. So now he's hoping for a quick brain fight. We'll see if he gets it. And yeah, like I say, if you don't get a 3-cycle brain fight at this point, with the way the times are in this races, it's GG's. Gotta reset. And once Jocko finishes this run, we'll cut over to the times again. Looks like he's gonna get the 3 cycle. We'll see what this clocks in at. Doing a bomb there for safety. Ooh, solid time. A very solid time. Yeah, so let's recap. This is a very tight race. So Hemser got a 13-13, Jocko a 13-16, Tozzle a 13-22, Drifter a 13-20, and Waldog 13-58. So this is kind of a bonkers time, man. Everyone is sub 14 and getting decently close to PBs here, which is very, very impressive. And yeah, they're starting to have to pull out some strategies from their personal bests, and we're throwing some of the, I guess you would say, marathon safe strats over to the wind to compete. Jocko had a tough break on that last run, so he was detonating a few extra bombs on the brain fight. I mentioned that the different cycles are a little shorter, so because he got the red brain on the second to last pattern, you weren't doing as much damage. So he was like a little behind, so like he really needed to catch up. But that may have cost him his time for the race. But we still have a few other runs, still have a few other chances. Let's check in with Tozzle and see where she's at with the stage 4 boss fight. Nice. Yeah, good job dealing with the randomness there. And it is possible to die during the cutscene. Kinda sucks. Alright, let's stick with Tozzle for a little bit for the stage 5. So this, the choice of starting points is kind of interesting because if you pick the right side, you have a chance of getting crushed back at this section here, which is the best case scenario, but it could be almost anything else like that, which you don't want. If you pick the other side, you have a chance of getting laser back. Is probably going to reset here. Yeah, that was really bad weapon luck. You have a chance to get laser, which is way better than most of the other weapons you can get. She got bad luck there, so that's probably going to be a reset. We'll see. Let's cut back over to Hemzar here. He's okay, yeah, this is going to be a reset. Yeah, so with times as insane as these are, the aggression is kicking into high gear. It is definitely time to attack aggressively because we are running out of time here. We're probably about, I think within the next roughly minute, this is probably going to be some of the last 2 or 3 attempts that these runners can make. Drifter with a good boss fight. He wanted to keep his crush, but didn't quite catch the missile. But He may be able to catch something good over here. It's going to be down to the wire for sure. See how his stage 5 turns out. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is, I suppose kind of like GoldenEye, walking at an angle is the fastest way to move in these stages. It is kind of weird to get used to. There's the laser. I was hoping someone would get laser. Alright, we'll see the laser in action here. Yeah, laser's good in stage 5. That's the drop I think Tazel was hoping for. Alright, now unfortunately though, Drifter had some bad luck on one of the target spawns in stage 5, which cost him a little time. We'll see if he chooses to. We have 3 runners who have just reset, and Hamzar is still in, just finishing up stage 1. So, yeah, we are going to be pushing it here, and we have now reached the stage where the runners basically only have time to complete one full run, and it's going to be the next couple runs are going to decide everything. Let's cut back over to Waltog here. I was looking to make up some time in stage 1. Stage 1 is interesting. So it's an easy place to lose time. One of the challenging things is stage 1 can be kind of a trap, a time sink, which can be really costly here if like sometimes not having a perfect stage 1 can do like a little mental damage to you. Sometimes having things kind of go just like a little bit wrong helps you relax, but other times it just makes you feel like you're off your groove. It can definitely be challenging. And it also kind of depends on like where in stage 1 something goes wrong. So like for Waltog, it was like right after the fire section, so like he was down a crush and wasn't able to really get it back effectively.
Well, Lance, we did it.
Let's get over to
Red
Drifter
Falcon
here and
is
see,
eradicated,
where he's gonna
and it's
finish
easy
at.
street
Getting
from
pretty
here
close
on
here.
out. Yeah, but don't you miss it? The thrill of the run.
Not sure if he'll... I don't think he'll be able to, unfortunately, clutch out time. This is going to be a good time, mind you. It's just that the current pace of things is nuts. Oh, well, maybe, let's see. Oh, man. This is nuts. $13, $14. Oh my gosh. Gosh. Alright. Let's look at the standings again. I can't even. Alright, so we've got 3 people within 3 seconds of each other. I did not expect this going in. Drifter just got a PB which is wild. Somebody needs to get a 13-15. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, my apologies. It's hard to keep track of all the cool stuff that's happening right now. Just so many interesting things happening. I still cannot believe that we have a race this close. Well, only thing we'll have to do is reset and try again. So we've got... So... I think it's safe to say that, like, now the runners are going to have to make a tough call of, like, do they keep this run, or do they reset and try to, like, squeeze out the last little bit? One of the challenges is that, like, you don't really know with this much time left if you're going to get something better. But we are approaching probably last run for a lot of these runners, which is going to be wild. Let's check back in with Hemzar here. Hemzar is doing the acrobat. See if he uses a bomb or if it cooperates. Cut out for a second there, but looks like made through it unscathed. Alright, let's check back in with Jocchio, who is once again risking it all. It's hard for me to convey just how dangerous that strat is. And as you have seen from the other racers, if you're down a crush, it's reset at that point. But I think Jocchio definitely wants to win this, and to do that, he is going to have to do crazy stuff. Alright, let's check out Hemzar's stage 4 boss fight really fast here. Apologize for the stutter there. Pretty good. Running a little short on time here, so if Drifter continues much longer, this is going to be his last run. Ditto for Tozzle and Jocchio, so let's take a look and see. Jocchio coming up on the Acrobat. Yeah, that's the bad pattern from the Acrobat. You can see it probably cost a couple seconds there. Yep. Also not cooperating. This guy. Yeah, the Acrobat is, it can be a really tough fight. Like, if you get the good luck, it looks like easy. It's like, of course it's easy, but like if he starts moving, the crush is not the fastest weapon, and the explosions take a while to do their full damage, and when he moves as fast as he does, that can be losing a little time there, which kind of is unfortunate because, as we have seen, we've got times that are within a second of each other now, which, like I said, is wild. Drifter getting a PB during the race. Yeah, I can't even. Check out how he does with this one. Stage 4 boss fight. Stage 4 boss fight is, in my opinion, one of the coolest parts of the run. And unlike hard mode, you can just go full on cruiser, not worry about dying. So there's actually some randomness in the height of the missiles, as if this game wasn't random enough. There's a certain height that, like, you'll jump and land quickly and be, like, perfect for the damage. Didn't quite get it, though. So Jockio looking to reset. This is probably going to be his last. Hemzar probably going to widen his lead if he can, although I think that would be a very tall order. Also getting some bad luck on that boss, but she still took out the bunker before it exploded, which was really critical. You lose several seconds if you miss that. Hopefully she'll get a good drop. She did, finally. The boss just barely didn't die there. That's unfortunate. So the boss has a smaller hitbox, and the crush explodes in a different area. It explodes kind of all over the place, so the damage you're going to get from that boss fight can be a little inconsistent. It can be on the high end or the low end. Unfortunately for Tozzle, she just barely missed the cycle, but still a decent time. The question is it going to be decent enough? This race is insane. Alright, the racers have a minute to decide if they're going to keep the run they have going, or if they're going to reset. Go for it. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I might say that if it was... I don't know. If it were me, I might reset, but on the other hand... This is wild. Let's stick with Tozzle for a little bit. So she's coming up on the gargoyle fight. Yep, she's using the bomb there. Yep, got the cycle. Yeah, the bomb there helps you get that one cycle, so that's about as fast as a gargoyle fight as we've seen tonight. And she's electing to take out the arm there. He's not gotten good luck on this fight tonight, which is unfortunate. It's alright, though. Alright, so we are at time. So the time that each runner gets from this run right now is going to be the final. Their final best time. Okay. Okay, so Tozzle might not be able to get the 3 cycle here. She only had 1 bomb. Yeah, that's probably not gonna make it. That's unfortunate. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Still a really strong showing, and that time was insane. Let's take a look at the times again really quick here. 13:22 is a fantastic time. And we've got a PB in this race, and 13:13 is, yeah, these times are bonkers. Whew. All right. Okay, yeah, we've got a little bit of a stream delay. Let's see what we got going here. Check in with Walt Dog. Here we're gonna see Laser being actually decent for this section. For targets that have small hitboxes that are far away, Laser actually does pretty decent damage. But the big question, though, is does it do enough for the 3 cycle? Probably not. So Waldog is either going to have to just hard commit to a 4 or go for the item drop, and it looks like he's going to commit to 4. All right, let's check back in with Drifter. Drifter's going into stage 4 without incident. Jakio and Ahimsa are synced up almost. All right, Tulsa's going into stage 2, which is always a fun stage to watch. Let's check that out. A good stage 2 is where you don't have a lot of enemies spawning. And that was a pretty decent stage 2. Looks like Hemzar is going to call it there with a little fun showboating. All right, so yeah, back to Drifter, who is going to take on down a weapon. Unfortunately, yeah. All right. Looks like Jakio is our man. He's got his last run in progress. See what kind of acrobat we get here. That's unfortunate. Yep. Alright. So, it's kind of wild because the time is so tight now that, like, from a strategic perspective, like, Shakyu kind of had to go for that. Because if he hadn't, he'd have had to use a bomb, and that would have put him a second behind, and there's just not a lot of time to make up. Alright, let's check out Jakio's boss fight. So, this fight is going to be a little bit slower with Laser, but Laser is actually still very good for this fight, because it does a lot of good damage to distant targets. Just not quite as much as Push. Still solid. Also finally got the skeletons to cooperate. So when you're down below and you shoot to the right, it's more likely to hit them, but they can jump into you, so trade-offs. Shakyu is starting stage 5. Gets the corner trick. Oh. That was a very unlucky spawn. He's got a chance to pick up Crush again. That is the opposite of what he wants. Alright. Laser's not bad, though. Meanwhile, Tazel is still at it. The next critical section is going to be the Acrobat, and we have seen just how devious it can be. It's Contra 3 is a deceptively challenging speed game. When you watch it and the fights go well, it seems like it's easy, but then you realize just how many resets go into things and how quickly things can go off the rails. So let's see what happens here. That is... yeah. Double probably wishing she started out with the bomb, but it's hard, man. Like, you gotta risk it for the biscuit sometimes, especially with the times being as tight as they have been. But we're gonna still finish out these runs here. Let's go over to Jakio, who's got the... oh, he's going for it. Oh. We call that the zero cycle. So that boss will... when he's got two phases, the first phase he tries to just kind of ram into you, and then for the second phase he teleports and tries to hit you. When he reaches below half his health, he will retreat. Now, what's interesting about that retreat is if you detonate the bomb at the right time, he will, like, say this the right way. When he's like trying to ram into you, you can interrupt him ramming into you by getting his health halfway, and that puts him in a good position to take enough damage to like kill him basically instantly with the bomb. But it's insane. It's cool like that. And let's see if Jakio can dodge the snake. Be the first person to do it so far. Not quite. But he still keeps his crush, which is what matters. Oh, blue orbs. Yeah, so the blue orb pattern is, in my opinion, a little harder to dodge than the snake, but very much insane. There's the white orb pattern, which is a little tricky to deal with, but best thing to do is use a bomb. Alright, that's gonna wrap it up for Jockey, and I think a little bit here. Alright, awesome job. Awesome job, Jockey, and we'll have Tozzle finish this up here. This section is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying, and that's why. Stuff can just spawn really quickly, and it's hard to react to. So Tozzle's gonna grab the spread here, which is good. And then, pretty aggressively it attacked the heart. If she had had double crush, she'd have had enough firepower, but a little bit of a tough break. Laser is still fine for this section, and should be able to get crushed back after this fight. And yeah, that was some excellent dodging. That's totally random. Here comes the gargoyle. Oh, that was really nice. One cycle without a bomb. That was really good damage she was doing there. So the left, I guess right eye of the head blocks shots. So you can't hit the core from the ground, so you kind of like have to jump and do a diagonal, and she did that very well. So going for a 3 cycle here. I have to say Himzar's stream is a little hypnotic. Picked the perfect spot to end it. Alright, I think if Tozzle gets one more great orb, we will have it. Pull it out. Not quite. Alright, this next one will end it pretty quickly, though. Yep. Alright, that will finish out our last run. So, let us look at the final standings here. Oh, what a race. So every single competitor in this race got sub 14, which is excellent. That is very well done. So in first place, we have Hemzar with a crazy 13-13, and in second place, also insane, is Drifter, who got a PB with a 13-14. Followed very closely by Jockio with a 13-16, and very close behind is Talza with a 13-22, and Walt Dog finishing with a still very solid 13-58. So fantastic runs, everyone. Thank you all very much for watching. I struggled a little
And
bit
thank
to.
you, Mr. K, for doing commentary for us. On top of all of the insane race times that we saw today, this format is also very ambitious for our little channel here. Drifter's been suggesting this for literally years now, and we haven't really figured out a way to do it until Sideswipe and Mr. Mixer collaborated on this crazy cool setup that we got tonight, and the fact that so much work was put into this, like an event that we've never had before, really felt like a smash success. And Mr. K doing comms by himself for 90 minutes, over 90 minutes now. Just all-star show-ups from racers, crew, everybody, and chat. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and partying. We had a wonderful time tonight. As always, we strive to show off a series that we all love more than people love most other video games. And when you show up with us to party, it really makes us feel like we're doing something special. So really appreciate everybody. Mr. K, really appreciate you. Mixer, really appreciate you. Racers, you guys killed it. Thank you so much. And with that, I don't have any other event to present. We're done. Mr. K, you have anything to say?
Yeah, just last shout out is feel free to join the Contra III Discord, even if it's not the speed game for you because of how challenging it is. It's still awesome to watch, and it's a great community. If you want to find out more about the game, or if you just want to hang out with a lot of the cool people that we have here, and if you like any of the other Contra games better than Contra 3, that's okay too. You're wrong, but you've got plenty of good company. So thank you all so much for sticking around. You all are fantastic, and great job, runners, and thanks to all the folks who put it together.
Much love, everybody. Have a good evening.